LOFT stands for Legislative Office of Fiscal Transparency. It's new and was created to better inform the public and policymakers about state spending and agency performance. The group met for the first time this week, and ONR's Jason Doyle was there.
For the first time in our state's history, Oklahoma has a legislative budget watchdog. And while the legislature and Governor Stitt work together to pass the LOFT legislation, Senate President pro tempore Senator Greg Treat says the idea of an oversight mechanism on state spending has been in the works for years.
This is a huge undertaking. It's been about 30 years in the making. This didn't start with us or a concept we had, and it's an extremely important role that you play in making sure that our finances are transparent, that we get to real numbers.
The creation of LOFT is the result of lawmakers, the governor, and state agency leaders working together to get more accurate information into the hands of legislators.
This represents work between the House and the Senate. Both the Speaker and I had legislation on this. This is not the Senate's idea, Greg Treat's idea, the House's idea, or Speaker McCall. This is the legislative idea.
The first requirement of Senate Bill 1, the legislative vehicle that led to the creation of LOFT, is for the Oversight Committee to assemble and begin work before August 1st, and accomplish that goal with this week's meeting.
The fact that it's something that is going to help all legislators do their jobs, agencies more accountability, and taxpayers to see the transparency in their tax dollars. Great step forward.
The members of the Oversight Committee bring their expertise to the table to help launch the effort.
All of our members were not chosen by random or by accident. The work that you have put into this point in your service in the Senate, and I imagine the same is true in the House, has led us to this point.
One of the first duties of the LOFT Oversight Committee is to set the job requirements for the new executive director.
I think it's very prudent at this point that we put together a working group that we would designate both between the House and the Senate to accomplish the requirements and qualities that we're looking for within this executive director for the LOFT committee.
The committee also has to work on developing rules of operation for LOFT.
The timeline on the rules, hopefully by the end of the year, they've got to be ready for us to be approved by the legislature. Should be among some of the first order of business when we get back in session the first part of February.
Despite the need to get that process started, Oversight Committee co-chair Senator Roger Thompson wants to be sure they get it right.
Keep in mind that we want to lay a very firm foundation that will last for generations. Speed is not what we're after. What we're after is a solid foundation.
Thompson co-chairs the committee with Representative Kevin Wallace. Both point to the experience of other states as a reference as LOFT begins to take shape.
You know, I've traveled to New Mexico and went out at the first part of July. I looked at their legislative office of fiscal transparency, talked to their assistant director. The main thing we need to do is hire a good director.
I will tell you that we visited Jackson, Mississippi this past interim. Looked at their peer committee. It's a actual legislative committee, but looked at some of their structure and ideas and how we can implement those into our own Oklahoma plan, and I'm excited about it.
LOFT will be designed to give lawmakers the information they need to decide whether to spend more money on an issue or find another solution.
So just giving more money to any particular agency because they ask for it may not be the best thing we can do. What are they doing with the money they have? What results are we getting out of the programs we're now running in the state of Oklahoma?
Wallace echoes Thompson's sentiment. LOFT will give an insight that lawmakers have not had before when it comes to crafting a state budget.
I think we're off to a great start. We have an opportunity to set the foundation of something that will be historic.
The next Oversight Committee meeting is slated for August 20th. It's expected to be the starting point of a nationwide search for LOFT's first executive director. Jason Doyle, the Oklahoma News Report.